Welcome to Million Mile Microscope. Today, we delve into the tumultuous history of the Middle East, a region marked by a complex interplay of political, religious, and economic factors. From the fall of empires to the rise of nation-states, the 20th and 21st centuries have witnessed profound transformations in the Middle East, often accompanied by conflict and instability. Our journey begins in the early 20th century, with the Middle East still largely under the control of the waning Ottoman Empire. The region, however, was already a hotbed of competing interests, attracting the attention of European powers eager to secure their own strategic and economic footholds. World War I proved to be a watershed moment, shattering the existing order and redrawing the map of the Middle East. The collapse of the Ottoman Empire created a power vacuum that Britain and France, the victors of the war, were quick to fill. This period marked the beginning of a new era in the Middle East, one characterized by the rise of nationalism, the struggle for independence, and the enduring legacy of colonial intervention. The decisions made in the aftermath of World War I continue to reverberate today, shaping the political landscape and fueling conflicts that have tragically claimed countless lives. To truly grasp the complexities of the modern Middle East, we must first understand the historical forces that shaped the region. For centuries, the Middle East was the heart of vast empires, from the ancient Persians and Romans to the Islamic caliphates and the Ottoman Turks. The Ottoman Empire, in particular, left an indelible mark, ruling over much of the Middle East for over 4 centuries. The Ottoman system, with its emphasis on religious tolerance and centralized administration, provided a degree of stability. However, by the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire was in decline, plagued by internal corruption and external pressures. European powers, driven by imperial ambitions and the lure of the region's strategic importance, began to chip away at Ottoman territories. The rise of nationalism further weakened the empire as different ethnic and religious groups within the Ottoman realm began to assert their own identities and aspirations for self-determination. The seeds of future conflicts were sown as these nationalist movements gained momentum, challenging the established order and demanding greater autonomy. World War I marked the end of the Ottoman Empire and ushered in a new era of European dominance in the Middle East. The victorious Allied powers, led by Britain and France, carved up the former Ottoman territories amongst themselves, creating a system of mandates that would have long-lasting consequences. Under the mandate system, Britain and France were granted control over vast swaths of the Middle East, ostensibly to guide these newly created territories towards independence. However, the reality on the ground was far more complex. The division of the Middle East into artificial states, often drawn with little regard for existing ethnic or religious boundaries, sowed the seeds of future conflicts. The imposition of foreign rule, even under the guise of a mandate system, fueled resentment and resistance among the local populations. The mandate system ultimately failed to achieve its stated goals, exacerbating existing tensions and creating new ones. It left a legacy of instability and mistrust that continues to plague the region to this day. One of the most consequential events in the history of the Middle East was the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. Driven by the Zionist movement, which sought to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine, the creation of Israel had profound implications for the region. The establishment of Israel was met with fierce resistance from the Arab world, leading to the First Arab-Israeli War in 1948. The war resulted in a decisive victory for Israel, which expanded its territory beyond the borders originally envisioned in the United Nations partition plan. The conflict also led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, creating a refugee crisis that continues to this day. The creation of Israel and the subsequent Arab-Israeli wars fundamentally reshaped the political landscape of the Middle East, igniting a conflict that has become one of the most intractable in the world. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with its complex historical roots and competing narratives, remains a central issue in the Middle East, fueling tensions and hindering efforts to achieve lasting peace in the region. Section 5. Oil and intrigue, foreign interference in the Middle East. The discovery of vast oil reserves in the Middle East in the early 20th century transformed the region into a strategically vital prize, attracting the attention of global powers seeking to secure access to this valuable resource. The pursuit of oil has played a significant role in shaping the political landscape of the Middle East, often exacerbating existing conflicts and creating new ones. The United States, in particular, has been heavily involved in the region since World War II, supporting certain regimes, intervening militarily, and pursuing its own strategic interests. The Cold War further intensified superpower rivalry in the Middle East, with both the United States and the Soviet Union vying for influence and supporting their respective allies. Foreign interference, whether driven by the quest for oil, strategic considerations, or ideological battles, has had a profound impact on the Middle East. It has often fueled instability, propped up authoritarian regimes, and hindered the development of democratic institutions in the region. Section 6. Proxy wars and regional rivalries. The cases of Yemen and Iran-Saudi Arabia. The Middle East has been plagued by numerous proxy wars and regional rivalries, often fueled by external powers seeking to advance their own interests. These conflicts have resulted in widespread suffering, displacement and instability. The ongoing civil war in Yemen, which erupted in 2014, is a stark example of the devastating consequences of proxy warfare. The conflict, which pits the Yemeni government, backed by a Saudi-led coalition, against Houthi rebels aligned with Iran, has plunged the country into a humanitarian catastrophe. Millions of Yemenis face famine, disease and displacement as a result of the fighting. Another major source of tension in the region is the rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia, two regional heavyweights with competing ideologies and ambitions for regional leadership. The rivalry between these two countries has played out in various proxy conflicts across the Middle East, including in Syria, Iraq and Yemen. The Iran-Saudi Arabia rivalry, fueled by religious differences, geopolitical competition and the pursuit of regional hegemony, has exacerbated instability and hindered efforts to address pressing challenges in the region. Section 7. Unending cycles of violence, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in the 21st century. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a defining issue in the Middle East for over 7 decades, continues to cast a long shadow over the region. Despite numerous attempts to broker a lasting peace agreement, the conflict remains unresolved, marked by periodic outbreaks of violence and a seemingly intractable cycle of mistrust and animosity. The construction of Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank, deemed illegal under international law, has been a major obstacle to peace, fueling Palestinian anger and resentment. The status of Jerusalem, claimed by both Israelis and Palestinians as their capital, remains a highly sensitive issue. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not only a humanitarian tragedy, but also a major source of instability in the region. It has fueled extremism, hindered economic development, and diverted resources away from pressing social needs. Section 8. Resistance and militancy, the rise of non-state actors. The Middle East has witnessed the rise of numerous non-state actors, including militant groups, armed factions, and terrorist organizations who have played a significant role in shaping the region's political landscape. These groups have emerged in response to a variety of factors, including political grievances, economic disparities, and foreign intervention. Hezbollah, a Shia Islamist political party and militant group based in Lebanon, emerged in the 1980s as a resistance movement against Israeli occupation. Hezbollah has since evolved into a powerful force in Lebanese politics and a major player in the region, with close ties to Iran. Hamas, an Islamist Palestinian militant group that governs the Gaza Strip, emerged during the first Palestinian Intifada, or uprising, against Israeli occupation. Hamas has been designated as a terrorist organization by several countries, including the United States and Israel. The rise of non-state actors has added another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation in the Middle East.